Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio MLB Closing Time Show, Thursday, September 16th. It's Ian Cameron and Conor Mack with you, ready to break down the Thursday card. Well, what's left of it. There's not many games, only 4 remaining on the MLB schedule. It wasn't a very big slate of games today anyway, with just 3 afternoon games. 1 got postponed, and then 4 games the rest of the way. But we will break them down for you, and we were just talking before the show started. It's very slim pickings for the remainder of this MLB card, so we're struggling to find a best bet, but we'll give you one. Conor says he may not even bet anything tonight, so it'll be a lukewarm bet or a there's your best lean. It may be when it comes to Conor Mack on this card today, but we'll still break them down. 4 games, and we'll also touch on the 2 games tonight in football on the gridiron, 1 in college, 1 in NFL, Ohio and Louisiana. And all of a sudden people are screaming at me on Twitter that they can't call it UL Lafayette anymore. Apparently, after all these years, you got to call it Louisiana. So I'll do that. Louisiana, Ragin' Cajuns against Ohio. And then the other game, New York Giants, Washington football team, NFL. We'll break that down as well, see if Conor's got thoughts on it. Let's go. Baseball will start there. New York Yankees, Baltimore Orioles. We've got Jordan Montgomery on the mound for the Yankees, Chris Ellis for the Orioles. We've got the Yankees minus 240 road favorites here at Camden Yards, 10 the total. Note the start time, an hour from now, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific is the start for this game. The Yankees, I like the way Jordan Montgomery's pitching for the Yankees for the most part. He had 1 rough outing, although it was against this Baltimore team. May 16th, 5 runs, 6 hits. But overall, he's pitched pretty well. He had a rough start his last time out against the Mets. Gave up 7 runs, 3.1 innings in that start. Rough go for him. I think he's capable, though, of bouncing back here tonight against Baltimore in this one. Prior to that, he had given up 1 run in 3 consecutive starts, and I think he'll probably pitch well here. On the other side, let's give Chris Ellis a little bit of credit. This will be his 5th start in a spot start role for the Orioles, and he's given up just 5 runs in 17.2 innings so far for Baltimore since joining this rotation. And he faced the Yankees just 12 days ago, shut him out, and allowed just 1 hit over 5 innings in that game. Now, do you think the Yankees now are getting their second look at him? You would expect a capable enough lineup to have a better approach, have more success. But you got to give Chris Ellis credit. He's pitched well. I certainly lean under here in the first 5. The total is 5 here in the first 5 innings. It was a low-scoring start last night. A pretty good pitching matchup that turned out to be between John Means and Nestor Cortez. That game stayed under the total. In fact, both games in this series so far have stayed under the total. So I would definitely lean to a little first 5 under here in this game, Yankees and Orioles. Conor Mack, what do you think?
Yeah, it's all with Ellis here. He's pitched really well, like you talked about. With first 5, my unders have just, my last 4 or 5 have not been good, especially the bottom of the 5th has really took it to me. But he's, like you talked about, he pitched against Baltimore, the Angels, Toronto, the Yankees, and Toronto. The Yankees was just September 4th. Yankees haven't been hitting righties that well. I mean, he's a guy that got dumped by the Rays, kind of. He's gone around Ellis. I'm with you. I wanted the 5.5. I'm going to look around, but I see 5s a lot of places. It is even money. That was my lean as well. There's just no way on the road I can take the Yankees minus 220. So, and that was my lean as well. And I'd only bet the Orioles on the side if I had a free play there.
All right, next game, it's up on the next game on the slate, Cubs and Phillies. Kyle Hendricks on the mound for the Cubs. It looks like it's going to be Cam Bedrosian for the Philadelphia Phillies. Philadelphia minus 160, home favorites, 8.5 the total here in this game. This guy's been bounced around, Bedrosian, from one team to the next. He's been with the Angels, been with a couple other teams, and now here he is in a spot start role with the Phillies, a Phillies team that has definitely been nothing's easy for the Phillies right now. Now, to their credit, they bounced back from a 6-3 loss to the Cubs and 3 losses over the weekend to the Rockies at home, and they won 6-5 last night. But even that game, I mean, they had the lead, they blew it, they got the lead again, they blew it again, and then the Cubs had to the Phillies had to rescue themselves in the 9th inning and get that victory. Nothing's coming easily for them. Obviously, these are games that they need the victories at this point. Trying to catch Atlanta for the NL East, which I think is going to be probably they're going to be in tough to do that. at this point, 3.5 games back. They're running out of time, running out of racetrack, if you will, and they are still 3 games back of the St. Louis Cardinals as well for the second wild card in the National League. They're just not consistent enough. You wait for the Phillies to string a streak together, and they just don't seem capable of doing that. And it may not be easy against Hendricks here. 1 run, 4 hits, 6 innings in his last start against the Giants. He actually pitched very well against a very good San Francisco team in that game. Now, he did struggle a lot before that, 3 kind of rough starts in a row for Hendricks. But I'll tell you what, the preferred side for me is the Cubs at the plus price than laying a price with Bedrosian and a very, very suspect Phillies bullpen. Not to mention a lineup that outside of Bryce Harper isn't really thumping the ball consistently right now. So if I'm betting this one, I'm doing a Cubs first 5 full game split. Conor, Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, Bedrosian, I mean, he should only go an inning or 2. And that means Phillies bullpen. I'm with you. This one I'm probably going to bet here. I guess it'd probably coming up maybe my best bet. I got to take the plus money with him. And Hendricks can be good, and even on the road. And he can get touched at times with him. So I'd only be on the Cubs, and I'd look over the 8.5. I mean, I don't love it, but at over 8.5 minus 110, I'd be on that.
Yeah, it's been an over history with these two teams head to head, 7-1 to the over.
Oh, yeah.
The last
yesterday, that was my killer. Like we talked about, I had the first 5 unders, nothing, bottom 4, and runs. These teams are bad fielding teams, errors. Just chase bad pitches, walks, wild pitches. So it always seems like there can be runs, especially late.
No doubt. And the total is only 8.5 here. So you don't need an all-out slugfest here to get this game over the total. 8.5, a reasonable, fair number here. So I would agree with you. Lean over and lean Cubs first 5 full game split. All right, next up, Detroit and Tampa Bay. We've got in this next game, Tyler Alexander on the mound for the Tigers. For the Rays, it looks like it's going to be Lewis Head on the mound here for the Rays in this one. Tampa Bay minus 210, home favorites 8.5, 9 the total in this one. We'll see what we get out of Lewis Head here for the Tampa Bay Rays, making a spot start. He's been pretty solid in minimal outings out of the bullpen since really the early part of August for this Rays team. The last 3 bullpen outings that he's had for them, September 7th, 12th, and 13th, scoreless baseball in 4 innings. So we'll see how he fares. He's not going to go deep into this game, but I'll tell you what, right now, I'm not rushing to lay more than minus 200 with Tampa Bay. I know, look, they lost 2 of 3 to Toronto. There's not a lot at stake right now for the Rays. I think they basically put their season on cruise control right now. They're clearly going to win their division. They're locked into the first seed pretty much in the American League. I mean, there's not a whole lot at stake. This is not a team I expect to go balls to the wall in the last 2+ weeks of the regular season. There's just not much to play for right now for the Tampa Bay Rays. And you could see a little complacency, a little lethargic, type of play crawling into their game. You can see it. You saw it last weekend against Detroit. You saw it against the Blue Jays. This team's just not going all out and putting their pedal to the gas pedal to the floor right now. And why should they? They're home and clear. They're going to be the number 1 seed in the AL. They're going to win the AL East. So I'm reluctant to lay these kind of numbers right now with the Rays the rest of the regular season. And Detroit, all they do is scrap, compete, battle, feisty. The pitching's actually been a little bit better lately. They're starting to swing the bats again. How about beating Milwaukee, a very good Brewers team, 2 in a row earlier this week, taking 2 of 3 from Tampa. Before that, they're all of a sudden 5-1 in the last 6 games, this Detroit Tigers team. And Tyler Alexander, he's decent. I wouldn't say he's great, but he's capable. He's made 3 starts now in a row where he's given up 1 run over his last 14+ innings. And the Tigers have won all 3 of those games. In fact, you go back to June 10th, the Detroit Tigers are 9-1 in the last 10 starts made by Tyler Alexander. I'm sprinkling on Detroit here. First 5 and full game split. At this price, 9-1 track record for the Tigers in Tyler Alexander's last 10 starts. A Rays team that I think is just kind of going through the motions, trying to get through the regular season, trying to get it over with, get the playoffs here where they're pump their adrenaline level back up again when the postseason begins. But this is not a team I'm laying these prices with, not the rest of the regular season. You won't see me making a Tampa Bay bet probably the rest of the regular season, especially if they're going to be laying a price like this. Connor Mack, what do you think? Tigers and Rays.
Yeah, for me, the key is the price.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They still have technically to play for, but yeah, they're locked up. They're gonna get the number 1 seed. I mean, they just need to win a few, and it's over. Yeah, and with Head starting another pen day, you talked about Tigers are feisty. We've took them a lot this year in this role. So I'd only be on the Tigers. Maybe there's runs. See if you like the Rays. You have, they're the home team run line. It's -110. Even the team total 4.5 is -130. I just didn't like it. And I'd only be on the Tigers or pass. These games at the end of the year, it's kind of like I need to just be more on the dog or just pass. I don't want to waste my money on a favorite too big on a run line.
Yeah, look at the Reds today. I mean, they won finally. But if you're laying $1.70 there with them in that game, you're life and death and you're biting your fingernails. 1-0. They barely won that game. And of course they lost the last two. It's a risk at this time of year to be laying these massive prices. I'm not saying you take every underdog. You still got to pick your spots, but you certainly try to make a case for a dog anytime you can when you're talking these -200 or more favorites. Again, with disinterested favorites potentially as well. Keep that in mind. You're talking about situations where, Tampa Bay's just cruising now through the end of the regular season. They just want to get the playoffs here. There's not that incentive every night to go all out, win these games down the stretch. Speaking of stretch, 7th inning stretch, because this is our last game coming up here on the schedule for this short Thursday night card. Welcome in everybody in the chat. Evan L, not applicable. Red Girl, nice to see you. Haven't seen Red Girl's name in the chat for a while. Good friend of the Pam here. Slick Rick, Mark Schillingberg, Lance LaRose, Evan L, pocket quarterback Lamar Jackson. Thank you for joining us. Hit the like button. Make sure you do that if you haven't already. We appreciate it. We will get to our final game now. Here it is. Houston Astros, Texas Rangers. We got the Pub Sports Radio crew in the house for this game in Arlington tonight. We be pubbing. They're going to be down there. Our guys. Jose Bouquet, Big Show, Slaughter. I mean, it's going to be the pub crew down there in Arlington for the Astros and the Rangers. We've got Garcia on the mound, Luis Garcia for Houston, and it's going to be Glenn Otto here for the Texas Rangers. We've got Houston -210 road favorites, 8.5 the total in this game. Glenn Otto, a guy that really in his first couple of starts here turns through the rotation here, was very good for Texas. Not so much the last game, though. It was a tough one for him against Oakland. 8 runs allowed in 3.1 innings. We'll see if he can bounce back here. The concern for Otto is Connor Mack, and they got this guy in the trade that sent Joey Gallo to the New York Yankees. They got high hopes for him, but now for the first time, Otto's facing a lineup for the second time. Houston has already seen him once. They know what to expect now, a better idea of familiarity, and he pitched well against Houston. Shut him out, only gave up 2 hits in 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, didn't walk a batter. Glenn Otto was terrific in that game against Houston back on August 27th. But now this Astros lineup has seen him once. You can make some adjustments. They're a good offense. I think you're going to see Houston have a better production at the plate tonight against Glenn Otto for the Rangers. And on the flip side here, we've got Luis Garcia on the mound for the Rangers. Change in pitchers. It was initially going to be Framber Valdez here for the Astros, but now it's going to be Luis Garcia on the mound instead in this game. You look at Garcia's numbers overall here for this Astros team. Not bad at all, actually, when you look at it, but Texas has actually been swinging the bat a little bit better lately, I would say. So that's something you want to keep in mind here. They've been swinging the bat a little bit better. Can they keep it going here against Luis Garcia? That's going to end up being the question. He did struggle in his last start, though, a little bit. 4 runs, 8 hits, 5 innings in that game for the Houston Astros. So it wasn't great, his start in that outing. We'll see how he fares here. It's funny because September 14th, just a couple of days ago, Texas, you look at it, 8-1, they beat Houston. It's been a little bit of a downward trajectory, just slightly in the last couple starts for Garcia. So with this total being 8.5, I think the Astros will fare better against Otto the second time around. They've got a little bit better idea what to expect. And on the flip side, I think Texas can just do enough offensively to contribute here. And with this total being 8.5, I think we can get up and over that number. Again, we're not asking for a huge slugfest. We're not asking for this to be, 10-9 or 6-5 or anything like that. All we need is 9 runs to get this game over the total. And guess what? We saw a 15-1 game in the opener of this series. We saw an 8-1 game in the second game of this series, and we saw a 7-2 game last night. All 3 of those games, 9+ runs between the Rangers and Astros, and 9 is what you need for a winner here with this total being 8.5. So I like it. Over 8.5, Houston, Texas. Connor Mack, what do you think? Astros, Rangers.
Yeah, will it get there again? That's the question. I think Otto, is, will he pitch good at, like you talked about, that first start against the Astros? Good. Garcia lately just seems to be cruising. He's been decent on the road. He's had a few bad road starts. When I watch him pitch, he looks really good, but at times I don't think he's that good. And laying 200, I just couldn't take the Astros. If you like the Astros, maybe their team total, but I'd only look at the Rangers first 5 here. I don't know how long Otto's going to go. The Allard might come in. That could mean more runs. I'd lean over 8, but can it get there again? I don't know if I want to pay to see.
Yeah, he's the primary after Otto leaves is going to be Colby Allard. And
he's gotten rocked.
He's gotten rocked. Houston's good against lefties. So there you go. You can definitely see an opportunity.
If the Rangers hit their team total is interesting, real quick. I mean, it's 3.5 plus 110. Can they get 4 runs? I think you might as well take them first 5 at plus 170. But I was looking at it.
Yeah, I lean Texas a little bit, but I just don't think Otto's going to pitch as well, and he's coming off a terrible outing against Oakland, so that's why I just feel over. That's the look for me is over 8.5 in this one. I can't get right. I am hoping you're right there with need KC to start a rally. 2 on, no out in the bottom of the 6th. I need it because I have over 10 in that game. So again, 2 bullpens you can't trust, so that's why I'm not panicking. We've got lots of opportunity to see that game go over the total still. With the A's and the Royals with 2 shitty bullpens. I mean, they both really are, especially in Oakland's. My gosh, Oakland, they were very lucky they had like a 12-5 lead in that game, and it was still not safe. It got to 12-10 in the 9th inning. Second and third, 2 out, and they got bases loaded, 2 out, and they got out of it. I mean, my God, talk about Oakland bullpen. They're not reliable at all. It is just a shit show every night with those guys, and they're damn lucky they didn't cough up and blow another game last night. So I think Kansas City, what are they here? I'm going to bet that right now because I didn't bet the side in that game, Oakland KC. I'm on them plus 130 right now. It's worth it. That Oakland bullpen right now. Yeah, I'm going to jump on it now, plus 130 because they got 2 on and nobody out, Kansas City in the bottom of the 6th, down 4-2. You better believe they're live in this game. With that Oakland bullpen, absolutely, this game's far from over. How bad is that pen, Connor Mack? That's terrible.
Yeah, they are bad. I mean, I thought they were bad early on. They just patched it together. Like Romo, Petit, those guys are old, washed up, pitchers that are hanging on by a thread. Yeah. So I saw it coming. They kind of pitched well, kind of throughout the year, but it's showing. Their true colors are showing here, especially the last month.
Yeah, one of the worst bullpen statistically, in Major League Baseball the last month, the last 30 days. This Oakland bullpen, it's been a disaster. Hopefully the football games aren't a disaster tonight. Hopefully we got some good football to watch tonight with the light MLB card. Let's start with the college game. Ohio and Louisiana, Ohio Bobcats, Louisiana Raging Cajuns. We've got Louisiana 19-point home favorites, 56 the total in this one. We talked about this game on the Hitting the Books football show Monday, you, me, Grant Arnold. I said it then. I'm going to say it now. It's favorite or pass. I can't endorse Ohio. They're a mess. They haven't looked good. They lost 29-9 to Syracuse in their opener, and Syracuse isn't all that great. Syracuse just got shut down completely by Rutgers, in their second game. And then they lose to Duquesne as 28.5-point favorites in their last game, Ohio. Curtis Rourke is not playing well at quarterback. to the point they're thinking of replacing him going into the game tonight. I don't want Ohio. Ohio is a falling knife, and I'm not getting in front of that falling knife. That is a program in decline right now. I thought they'd be one of the teams I'd be looking to bet against in the MAC this year. I didn't think it would be the bottom would fall out this quickly for them, but clearly it has in their first 2 games. But I'm a little bit cautious about laying this many points with the Cajuns because they are the better team. They got a ton of returning production. The defense is good. Levi Lewis, he's been there forever as the starting quarterback, but they've struggled. They didn't play well against Texas, albeit that's a tough opponent on the road. And they barely got by Nicholls State, in the FCS ranks. And they've been a bad favorite against the number, going back to last year and 2 years ago. It's been tough to trust Louisiana here, the Cajuns laying this kind of number. When you're talking about being favored by almost 3 touchdowns. That being said, there is no doubt they're the preferred side. I want nothing to do with Ohio, nothing at all. And it does kind of feel like, Ohio played Syracuse, who are way down, and Duquesne, who are not a good FCS team. So they played bad teams and looked bad. At least with the Cajuns, they played a good Texas team. And Nicholls State's actually a better FCS team than Duquesne is, much better. Yeah. And yeah, they struggled with them, but they still won. So there's still more to like to me with the Cajuns here than the Bobcats, no question. So I am not betting the game, but definite lean to Louisiana here, minus 19. Conor, any thoughts on this Thursday night college football matchup?
Yeah, we talked about it on Monday. I can't get anywhere in this game. I'm with you. I'm not going to make a bet either. I'm not going to force it. Louisiana has just had a hard time covering numbers like this the last few years. And even Nicholls State, these last few games have been close. And Ohio's just been horrible with Solich gone. We thought they'd be bad. They've looked really bad, worse than we probably even thought, Ian, when we did our previews. We know they were going to take a dip. So I would actually take the points with Ohio. It's crazy as it sounds. I mean, I can't bet it. No way. They've been so bad. Louisiana scares me laying 3 touchdowns, though. And I'd lean under, but I got nothing on this one. So it's a pass for me.
All right, and the other game, the pro game, the Thursday night NFL game, New York Giants, Washington football team, Washington 3.5-point home favorites. Looks like those threes have disappeared. The total 40.5. I do like the Washington side here. I talked about it. We talked about it earlier this week on that Hitting the Books show, and I also talked about this game earlier today on Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy, breaking down the CFL and the NFL card in its entirety. So if you didn't check out the show earlier today, make sure you tune in. I like Washington a little bit here. I mean, I know the Giants have had their way with Washington 5 in a row, won both meetings last year. That was then, this is now. I don't trust the offensive line to match up against that Washington defensive front with Sweat and Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. It's just an incredible defensive line. And I know they didn't get the pressure and they didn't blow up the line of scrimmage like I thought they might against the Chargers in that loss over the weekend. But the Chargers have a much better offensive line this season. They got Corey Linsley, which was a big upgrade to that offensive line for the Chargers. It's a better O-line, and I don't fault Washington too much for not getting as much of a pass rush in that game as I expected. I think they will get it here because that Giants O-line is not good. It's not as good as the Chargers offensive line, in my opinion. You're still seeing Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, Connor Mack making the same mistakes, fumbles in the red. That was a killer fumble in the red zone against Denver, and it really killed any chance they had in that game. Same old shit, ball security. I mean, this guy just treats the football like a fucking hand grenade. He just, every time he touches it, it's just out of his hands. Just wants nothing. It's like, whoa, get rid of this football. Oh, I want nothing to do with it. So that's been the issue. It's still a problem with this guy. I mean, he's just got to secure the football better than that. You can't be just keeping the ball out there like a loaf of bread and just say, hey, take it. I don't want it. That's not the way it's supposed to be. You got to make sure you value the football, when you're the quarterback. I think the Giants defense could be pretty decent, but last week, as they were out on the field a lot in that game, they got tired down the stretch, and that's when Melvin Gordon busted one for, 70 yards to put that game away. And people making a big deal that they're concerned about, Fitzpatrick being injured and Taylor Heineke being in there at the quarterback spot. Well, the guy is capable, at least. In a terrible situation, the guy gets called from Old Dominion, where he's finishing his engineering degree, last year during the playoffs and say, hey, we need you. We need to sign you, and they sign him. Alex Smith was, of course, a mess at that time, injured. And then, of course, he ended up retiring. Kyle Allen was hurt. Dwayne Haskins stunk, and he ended up getting cut by Washington. They had nowhere to turn at quarterback going into that playoff game against Tampa Bay. So they signed Taylor Heineke quickly. They end up putting him in practice, naming him the starter. And, crazy, like, your head is spinning. This all happened so fast for the guy. And he still went in there against Tampa Bay, the eventual Super Bowl champions. And he went in there in that wild card game and he played well. He gave Washington a chance in that game. I thought he played well. He used his legs. He made some plays running with the football. He was solid with the football. He kept the mistakes to a minimum. I like what I saw out of Heineke. And I think in this spot tonight, he's capable of giving Washington a chance to win. And I just think that defensive line could overwhelm the Giants in this game. So I like Washington here. I laid 3.5. I still like it enough that I think you could bet it. I think it's worth the look there toward Washington. And when you look at this from a spot perspective, both teams are 0-1. But if you're Washington, you really are going to be, focused and hell-bent to win this game, Connor. You don't want to go 0-2 at home and losing a divisional home game as well, and then having to go on the road 0-2 at home to start the year and losing a divisional home game. This is a very, very imperative game for the Washington football team, and I think you're going to see a much better game from them. And let's keep in mind they played a very good Chargers team, and if not for Antonio Gibson fumbling late in that game against the Chargers, they might have won that game, to be honest with you, if that didn't happen. So I think Washington can get the job done here. I definitely lean under the total, but everybody and his brother agrees with that. And now the total is down to 40.5, and that's a pretty low number. It does make sense in theory. This should be low scoring, but damn, that's a pretty low total. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, so do I. But that total now has gotten to that range where, 35, let's say the score would be right around there, 34, 2014. One score, it's over. To me, the key number 42.5, that's gone. Now we're down 40. So it could be close. It could be a 2019 or 2016. These teams played really close last year. I don't know both scores, but I know the Giants won by 1 in both games. Initially, when it came out, I liked the Giants when it was at 5, 4.5, 3.5. I still like it lukewarm. But I don't think I could take it. Watching that Giant game was pretty rough. And the football team, we'll see. That D-line's been really good. We know the corners aren't great, but will there be points here? And Heineke, I looked at both quarterbacks rushing totals here. I think they could get there. And I kind of looked at Heineke under. I think his passing yards is 246. I see him throwing it, but I don't know if he can get over 250. I think that's what the line is, right around there. So I looked at his passing yards under in this one. So I might play a couple props. But yeah, it's a stay off for me. If you didn't catch that, I don't love the under now at 41 or 40.5.
Yeah, there's a couple. I'll throw out a couple player props. I think I might have mentioned these earlier on the Football Frenzy show. I'll just reiterate. I like Logan Thomas anytime touchdown. I'll post some anytime touchdown props on Twitter as well at Bobano.
His yards were interesting to me too. Yeah. I saw that.
And receiving yards, and I'm doing the trifecta: receptions, receiving yards over, and the touchdown prop for Logan Thomas tonight. Over 45.5 receiving yards, over receptions as well. I think he's going to be target a lot for Taylor Heineke. They're going to run the football. I think he's not necessarily going to always stretch the field deep, but he's going to look for that big tight end, Logan Thomas. So I think this is a game where he's pretty productive. Antonio Gibson over rushing yards makes sense because I think they'll still commit to running the football a lot. I think if you like Giants player props, don't look at running props. I don't think they're going to run the football against Washington's defensive front. I think you got to look toward the receivers: Galladay, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. Those are the guys you want to target, I think, for the Giants, because if they're going to move the ball, it'll be through the air, I think.
Jones will be the only guy, and he'll be running for his life. So that's why I only mentioned him. And there will be no Barkley. And he didn't do anything, last game. He had 26 yards.
Yep.
So, and he's not even playing. It could be tough for them to run it. So, yeah, if you like Giants, I'd say the same thing. Look at the receivers. They got to throw it with Jones.
Exactly. And actually, I wouldn't talk anyone out of Daniel Jones over 22.5 rushing yards either, because he's going to be flushed out of that pocket a lot tonight with that great D-line of Washington and that very, very shaky, suspect offensive line of the Giants. So he's going to have to probably move with those feet quite a bit tonight in this game against that Washington defense. So those are a few props that I'm definitely interested in for Thursday night football tonight. All right, back to baseball. There we go. See how I can do that? We can just go right back to baseball and wrap up the show in just a sec. Thanks to everyone for joining us. We will get to best bets, or in Connor's case, best lean, in just a second, as well as Jack of the Day. But first, we'll pause for messages from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101, when you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in, have a bite to eat, have some pints, and, of course, live music, DJs, and karaoke as well. Southtown 101, San Antonio, Texas. Manscaped, promo code PUBSPORTS. You saw it on the screen there, Lawnmower 4.0, new and improved. Get that and any product from manscaped.com. And 20% off your purchase using the promo code PUBSPORTS. MyBookie.ag, promo code PUBSPORTS. Again, football season's here, hoops and hockey coming up next month. It's a great time of year. Sports at full steam ahead for the next several months. It's relentless. Like from September to April, if you're a sports bettor and do this seriously like we do, kiss your life goodbye until the spring next year. That's where we're at, as it's going to get busy again. Hoops and hockey next month as well. MyBookie.ag. Sign up for an account. Great time of year with all the sports converging. Bitcoin accepted currency for your deposit as well. MyBookie.ag, promo code PUBSPORTS. All right, short card, but we'll see if we can scratch out and find a couple of props at least for home runs with our Jack of the Day.
Well, see you later.
All right, a Jack of the Day again. Very, very thin card. We've only got 4 games left on the docket tonight. It's not like we have a ton to choose from, but there are a couple like Bryce Harper, who's been best hitter lately for the Phillies, and he does have a home run against Kyle Hendricks. Definitely something to consider there, worth a look in my mind for Jack of the Day. As far as the other games go, it looks like I like the way Adolis Garcia is hitting right now for Texas. He's on fire. He's hit a couple of home runs lately, and he's definitely in good form. Doesn't have a track record necessarily against Luis Garcia, but Adolis Garcia for Texas, definitely someone to consider for Jack of the Day. So just those two. Again, short card, Bryce Harper, Adolis Garcia for me tonight. Connor Mack, what do you think, Jack of the Day?
Yeah, I'll go with the Ranger as well. He's been hitting some homers. Is DJ Peters. He's plus 450. I like him for Jack. I'm going to throw a couple Tigers just because the price I think is pretty high. On Candelario is plus 600. And I think Grossman is right around the same. Let me double check. I think he's right around 600 as well. So big price on some guys that have some Jack. They could get with 650 for Grossman. So good price on those guys. Throw a couple on there.
All right, good stuff. All right, it is time for best bets. This could be best lean, at least for Connor Mack, because he's not very high on the Thursday night card, these 4 games. But best bet, best lean, whatever you want to call it, Connor, what do you got?
Yeah, when you get kicked in the mouth, after yesterday, I'm a little gun shy. I'm going to take the Cubs, plus 140. I'm going to take it. I'm small, but I like the over a little bit in that game as well. Kind of a combo bet. Cubs and the over in that one.
All right, there you go. Cubs plus price, first 5 full game, and over 8.5 as well in that one. Best bet for Connor Mack in that Cubs Phillies game. I wouldn't argue with either one of those. My best bet, I'm going to go Houston, Texas, over 8.5 here, -110. Again, I don't think Glenn Otto is going to fare as well tonight against Houston the second time around. Again, this is the first time Glenn Otto's got to face a lineup for the second time. And, sometimes that doesn't always go as well the second time through, especially when you're talking about a very capable Astros offense. So I think he'll struggle a bit more. I think Texas, their lineup's actually been hitting a little bit better lately. They can do enough against Garcia and that Astros bullpen. And again, we're not asking for 6-5 or a massive, massive explosion of runs. It's 8.5 the total. It's a very fair, reasonable number to get over, and I think it will. So Houston, Texas, over 8.5. Best bet for me for this Thursday MLB card. And that'll wrap up this show. Before we wrap it up, a reminder, I won't be on this show tomorrow. I'll be away the Hamilton Ticats CFL game, so it'll be Sharpie and Conor Mack on the Friday edition of the MLB Closing Time show to break down the baseball card tomorrow, and also, of course, they'll probably mention something about the 2 football games tomorrow night in college as well. So make sure you join them for that on the show tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Tonight on the channel, live stream, Thursday Night Football, New York Giants, Washington football team. Make sure you tune in. Live NFL Thursday Night Football stream right here on Pub Sports Radio. Check that out. If you missed the Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy earlier today, make sure you check that out. I went through the whole CFL card, the NFL card. So make sure you tune in for that. So that's it for me until Saturday. Saturday's the next time I'll see you guys. 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. College football Saturday morning kickoff show. Conor Mack, yours truly, DJ Big Boss, Big Ragu. We will be with you as always, breaking down the Saturday college football card. Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you join us for that. That's a wrap for Conor Mack. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we'll see you again. I'll see you Saturday, but make sure you tune in tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, for MLB Closing Time with Sharpie and Conor Mack tomorrow right here on Pub Sports Radio.